I can't understand a word she's saying.
Yeah.
Removing the mic. We're having some technical issues here today. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So, I'll repeat that again. We are going to have the National Honor Society plant and maintain the 3-day garden for this summer of 2021. We're looking at a proposed planting date of May 8th, 2021, and then we are going to need it looks like 420 petunias, 35 bags of planting mix, and 35 bags of mulch, coming to a total of $989.75. That leaves the determination of what amount the city wants to give as a donation to the National Honor Society. When we originally did this project, thinking that there was going to be professional landscapers, we've been given a budget of $5,000. I don't know. I feel like the remainder is kind of high to give as a donation, but that's up for discussion.
Amy?
12 plants for 12 petunias per section, I don't think is enough.
These are wave petunias that get to be 2 to 4 feet wide.
Are they the big, like if you
No, they're in plants, so they're going to be planted 12 inches on center. The tree pits are
Okay.
30 inches by 40 inches.
okay.
And Margo, I don't know if you can put it up to them. They draw a little grid section, and
Okay.
we could put them 2 feet apart, but we're going to wait.
Well, if they're yeah, I understand what the
Yeah.
waves are. So yeah,
Yeah.
it just
I think there's also going to be tree pits where it's going to be very hard to plant because the power of the roots is up so
Right.
high. So I think we're going to be just fine. You know, maybe we leave a little left. Or actually, we were talking about where you have to flat in case we need to
Okay.
fill in. But these will fill in and completely cover every inch of
okay.
the tree pit.
Have we given to the Honor Society a list of maintenance, summer maintenance tasks on a time frame so they
We
know?
have not, but I talked to both the advisor and the secretary that it's going to be weeded, needs to be weeded and cleaned out regularly. Now, we have not come up with a time set of schedule or, but they do know that there's going to be some definitely maintenance involved throughout the summer.
So their biggest job is going to be the planting day. And then every week or 10 days,
Once a week.
there need, I think a week.
Sweep the mulch back in.
Okay.
We get a new litter.
Yes. Check to make sure they're being watered. They all should be.
And I think we just have to assume that as they get trampled, we're not going to keep.
That's going to happen.
Is the city responsible for watering then?
They're
We're good
irrigated
for There's irrigation and irrigation.
Oh,
for the trees.
I don't think I've ever seen
Yeah, they're little hoses.
what does it?
There's little nozzles that,
Oh, great, perfect. I think it's a great idea, and kudos to the Honor Society for taking it on.
I think it's
So,
great for them. They're going to be downtown and see people, and people will see them. So should we come up with a suggested donation that we would ask council to approve? You have a price point you're okay with?
$2,000.
I was thinking that also. And should we do maybe 1,000 up front and 1,000 at the end?
exactly what I was thinking.
Okay, does that make sense to everyone? So
Follow
this will
through.
go to you at council to approve on Monday.
I think we also need to maybe schedule a DDA volunteer to be there.
Good idea. That's a great idea.
I'll do it.
Me too.
what is the 8th?
It's Saturday,
Oh, okay.
so we got Kathy, Deanna, Amy.
Yeah, hang on one second. Something.
We can put out a call to a few others. We got some other
Yep.
volunteers.
I know I'm not part of DDA, but if you need
I
my
can
help,
help
I'm happy to be there. Absolutely.
I'm in.
Okay, that's great.
So the other thing we're gonna have to round up our planting trials. I can probably come up with maybe 2 or 3.
Oh, good point.
And I was going to talk, we don't have to do it this minute, but I just. I was gonna talk to the National Honor Society and ask them if they could just, bring some.
Ask the parents for some travels.
From home. That's all that.
Great.
So what we have planned is rather than buying both planting mix and both mulch, gonna get the bags to where we can get them these expensive maybe days. And just as it works out, very conveniently, one bag of planting mix to plant.
Drop it each.
One bag at each hole, so it'd be simple.
So on that morning, are we going to come ahead and put all the materials at the pits?
I think we'll have.
Okay.
we can work this out
Easy.
later. Yeah.
Okay, great. I think we have got a great solution to this. I'm looking forward to July to see what it looks like.
Usually fill in minutes.
I hope they fill in well. It's a wacky season we've had. You
Yeah,
never know.
pray for no frost then.
Okay, that's,
26th of May.
we might. We've had it in June before.
I know.
All right, let's move into item 5. We don't need a vote on that, do we? I think we're fine with just presenting it. Okay, all right. Let's move next into the Spring Street parking lot, which is answering the questions council asked of us for Monday.
There we go. All right. So also coming out of the last council meeting was the decision to look at come up with a plan for converting the Spring Street parking lot into a revenue generating parking lot on a trial basis for the summer of 2021. Instead of going ahead and installing permanent gates, Kyle generously offered to monitor the parking lot with his staff and work with us to develop a plan that we could test this for this summer. So Chief Knight, Victor, and I got together, and Emily is here from the police department to kind of go over the plan that we came up with on the project. So the project is to convert the parking lot into a revenue generating lot on a trial basis. Who would be eligible? At this point, what we came up with is any individual business owner or employer or resident within the central business district will be eligible to enter a lottery to obtain up to 2 parking space leases. We would do this on a lottery basis. An application would be due no later than May 17th. At that point, we would do a lottery for the 18 parking spots plus the 1 handicap space. If at that point not all of the 19 spaces were taken in the lottery, we would then do another drawing for an additional space for those that would like to have 2. And that the Downtown Development Authority would handle all administrative duties related to the lot, including applications, lease agreements, accepting the agreement. The City of Harbor Springs Police Department would create and issue the parking permit, and they would be available for pickup and payment at the police station, or police pickup and I can even do the bring payments in. But all permits would need to be paid for no later than May 28th, 2021, as the Friday before heading into the Memorial Day weekend. The cost of the parking permit would be $500 for the season. The City of Harbor Springs Police Department has said that they will monitor the lot 2 times a day at a minimum. And we will also be posting a sign saying that this is the City of Harbor Springs permit only lot, and unauthorized vehicles will be towed at owners' expense. That was, I know the Chief Knight did not want to make it say that the police department would be taking on that expense to tow any vehicles out there. Remember, what was the season? The season runs from Memorial Day through Labor Day weekend. And that's what we decided. That falls in line with our parking for downtown, and when we start changing hours on Main Street. The lease agreements would include terms and conditions such as there would be no subletting of parking permits, no resident can charge additionally for a parking permit when renting out short-term rentals and Airbnbs. No profit to an individual from public property. There would be no refunds. The parking space availability would be first come, first served, since we're not going to be able to do the numbering as far as that day. So if everyone is cooperating, everybody should have their spot up there. The the only thing we could do is give citations, for in the, the long-term violator. Then there's not. So, a permit can be prorated if we this season, and also that our state harbor state would not be responsible for any damage for loss or stolen.
I believe Emily's here to touch up on it.
Yeah, Chief Knight had a few thoughts and concerns. In the application, is it possible to have the wording of if, because it's inevitable that someone's gonna forget it at home or lose it, that no exceptions, you will still get a citation. Citation if you don't have your pass or permit visible. And then his concerns were also to the businesses who purchase for their employees or for condos up above, over that way. That he, we were talking yesterday that it's possible someone could just go back home and forget to leave the pass in the condo and just drive away with it. So we will have to figure out a system to replace that. That's easy for the police officers to monitor the missing number, I guess, if we number them, passes.
Yeah, could we do it that if somebody lost it, that they could come back down and there would be a record of, the address or the employer or the business or the resident, and we issue a new permit?
Yes, yeah, because as Chief and I talked yesterday, I will be keeping track of whether we number them. I think that's probably the best thing to do is what business or individual has the numbered passes and then their address that it belongs to. So Chief was saying that there should also probably be a fee for loss. 25, even up to 50, but that way that people aren't coming in and just, we have 14 number 8s out there.
Yes.
That is hard for the officers to monitor.
I agree. Makes sense to you? Okay.
We do have a vendor that we're looking into. I haven't gotten a quote yet. I just found them late last night, early this morning. So I'm still working on getting a quote for the passes itself.
Okay.
I just have a question. Can you go back to the list of the, what you can and can't do? I'm just wondering how, I haven't, just help me figure out, how can you enforce that someone's not charging additionally for a parking permit when renting out for short-term rentals?
We won't be able to know that easily.
Unless you look up this.
You want to?
Yeah, I mean, I just
Airbnb listings.
right, I mean, but you just,
Can you repeat the question, sorry?
I just wondering how you're able to enforce that no one can charge additionally for a parking permit when they're renting out for
Well,
short-term rental.
That's hard, but what we do is we have a short-term monitoring system that we contracted out with Amari last year to monitor short-term rentals. And what they do is they constantly monitor short-term rentals, and they show us the ads for those rentals. So for example, one way we can monitor that is if they put on their ad, for $50 extra, you can get a pass. However, if they bump up their general fee, we have no way to monitor. So it's just, but if you put in the terms and conditions, it's a warning that if we find out that you're doing that, you lose your pass.
Great, that's very informative. Thank you.
I just had an idea about feedback mechanism at the end of the summer, how to be successful kind of thing. And how we determine if everybody is still in accordance with that's what we want to do with the lab versus.
Oh, there's a couple of ways of doing that. We got pretty good reaction with the survey, so I would do that again, both of the whole CBD as well as the participants. There might be somebody we've missed because they were a tenant above someplace that's not on the DDA list.
You may want to do general survey of the community. See how
Absolutely.
The rest of the community feels about it too.
I agree.
And then we can track, here, at least any administrative, any complaints to City Hall or the DDA. How many tickets you guys give out.
Right.
It's gonna be, how many complaints you guys do. Any feedback from DDA board members, council members here. So I think using all those different avenues, and we'll see, we'll have to tally exactly how much money it costs for the permits, how much time we spend, pay attention to that. Obviously, if this is a trial basis, we review it every year, and then decide we're gonna have to go again with it next year, and then see what we need to do differently, and if we get the costs. I would think between the police department, DDA, general community survey, and specific business survey.
And I hate to even bring this up, but I don't really know what my full thought is here, but do we need a survey? Or we need
We've already surveyed and it's been
How do
well
they feel-
publicized.
How do
and-
they feel about?
Yeah.
The DDA taking that?
We did do the parking survey.
We did.
And,
Yeah, that's what brought us
yeah,
here.
1.5 ago.
Yeah, for me, there's the reason I want to address this and get some answers is because we've been asked so many times, what can we do for both employees taking up spaces as well as for those arriving like afternoon shifts that have no place to park? And we're going to find out at the end of the summer if in fact it met both of those questions. It may well be at the end of the summer, we decide not to go forward. We may well decide at the end of the summer just to put a sign up that says this lot reserved for businesses and downtown residents only and not even police it. But I think that this is the way we're going to find out.
And echo that, I think there's committees probably review split, there's some
course.
people are definitely against it, and some people really want it. It's on the council agenda last time, it's meeting the council agenda again, so I think the public has opportunity to speak at council. We usually don't get surveyed on every single, council decision before we do it unless council really wants it or unless it's something very big. I think, council has a decision, ultimate decision to make on what kind of plans they want. And if they want to see a community survey before they go forward, that council can do it. But I don't think it's absolutely necessary beforehand. Public should know about it, it's on the agenda, but afterwards, most people don't pay attention to the council agenda, so afterwards, when something happens, that's usually when we start hearing opinions. And that's when a better time to get a community survey. If we get a lot of, well, you guys did it wrong, and okay.
We'll find out.
But they do, between council and DDA, there is plenty of opportunity to participate.
And we did do our homework before we went to council with doing the survey and coming up with suggestions, and council had some great suggestions back at us with a lot of questions that you wanted answered. If council decides not to go forward, we did our job. We did what we were asked to do to dive into it. It's not our decision to make, but we would like to at least try it, and we'll learn a lot.
I guess question is, we can't, or if you can't sell the 18 spots,
Good question.
do we pull the plug out completely and just
Good question.
that's something to think about?
Yeah, I would say we pull the plug.
Yeah,
okay
everyone's
with that.
fired up about it, but
It would be
when it comes time
difficult.
to paying the $500,
I-
that'd be-
I think from the police department's perspective, it would be too difficult to monitor half a lot, so.
I totally agree.
Tags,
Right.
you can't just cordon off half the lot. So,
Good question, thank you.
And then
Okay.
for that sign that you guys, the city does, it says permit parking only. Others will be towed at owner's expense. I know that Greg Garber's contacted me about this. He said if you guys put a sign up like that in that lot, he'd like to put a sign like that up in this lot, because ever since this has been publicized, I think he sold this lot out completely, rented it out completely, and he's worried that if you do that, some people might come from that lot over to this lot. So if we could coordinate that sign, and I'm assuming he'll absorb the cost of having one made, but if we could do that, I think it would make the property owner happy that he can coordinate that and make the signs look similar, et cetera, et cetera.
Isn't there a sign process within the city?
Yeah, but, I mean, this is more of a. No, I'll talk to Jeff.
Okay,
And see what.
all right.
Talk to Greg or talk to Jeff about the sign.
Yeah.
He just sent me a message this morning saying that if the city puts a sign up there like that, he would like to put a sign like that up in his lot here as well.
Man, I understand the concern. So I'll talk to Jeff and see what process. They have.
All right, thanks, Victor.
Okay. I guess the good news is that people want Greg's lot, they might want this lot too. Let's hope we can help people. That's the big deal. If we
Yeah.
can't, on to the next thing.
And is the cost for a ticket, if you park in that, is the same as a parking ticket on the street?
That's a good question. Emily.
Yes.
Yes.
Right, perfect.
I don't even know what that is. I've never gotten a parking ticket.
Wait,
Right.
Not if you pay it early.
There are a few
Not
people,
that I know.
there are a few people who probably paid more in parking tickets than this annual fee. We might want to get a couple of those people early. They might save a few dollars. Okay. Other,
And then we will put the application on the city's website, on our website.
yes.
Publicize it.
Okay. Other thoughts or questions on this before we hand it off to council? And if you have more thoughts or questions on this, public, you more than welcome to either speak up now or come on Monday. Okay,
Kathy, yes, can I ask a question?
Yes, Jeff James.
you're Jeff or you're Miranda?
I've been called both.
Okay, Jeff.
I don't know if I'm supposed to wait until number 10
No, fire
for
away.
comment, or can I do it now?
Go ahead.
Two questions. One is, why not, I liked your idea, why not just put the sign up this year that says employee parking only? It costs $0. Try it and see how that works. And then
Well,
my
this
other
doesn't cost
question,
us much.
I'm sorry,
This effort is not costing us a lot of money.
what's a
But good
guesstimate?
question.
What's a guesstimate?
Yeah, we could let council talk about that, but it's a great question, Jeff.
Okay, and then my question is, since the city now owns that lot and you want to charge it back to the taxpayers that already bought it and paid for it, how much is the city going to get of the $500 per spot rent versus the DDA?
That's a good question.
At this point.
It's up to council.
The city can have it all.
Yeah.
At this point. I mean, that's not been determined yet.
And Jeff, as I communicate with you on the side, we have not asked. Our direction on this was to solve a problem or help with a problem, not revenue. That will be up to council.
My only thought on that was the DDA at least should be reimbursed any administrative time they spend on administration for the like handling the permits and taking applications. And so all those times essentially and something like that. So it's going to be minimal, but I think that should, I mean, originally when we had discussed the whole gate system, DDA was supposed to pay for the gate. So my idea was
We should get more.
to get some share of the DDAs so they can get it back to the gate. But this, I mean, it'll be, like, it's simply, we get the money and then the DDA just says, here's how much time to the council, how much time to spend on this, 25 hours of summer, and we just pay that tomorrow. So that'd be a solution for this year. Just a thought. Though.
Oh,
Sounds reasonable.
we'll just let council deal with that. I mean, again, Jeff, we're not in this to generate income, although we'd like it everywhere we can. This was not the driving force for this problem. It was something else. And it's a learning experience. This is not a permanent situation if it doesn't work. If we did know by the survey that we had more people saying they wanted spots than we have spots, we'll see if that happens. If not, we've learned something.
My last question, I guess, would be, is this on city council agenda for Monday?
Yes,
Yes, it will.
Okay, thank you.
this is not our decision to make, Jeff. This is just,
No, I understand that, Kathy. Thank you.
we're the homework people.
Right, I understand. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Okay, anything else before we move on? And we'll address this again Monday night in our comfortable chairs, but for the of us who are moving over there. Okay, moving into Marina Park.
Okay,
Denny,
I'm gonna move over here just because the mic's over here.
I can pull it up, but
Okay, yeah, take your time. Go just a little bit.
Turn off those lights.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Next council meeting or meetings will have candle lights.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
All right, where's my light?
There's red. And there's,
Yeah, there's
That's
red.
I can hear you.
Okay, just getting started. I'm trying to find.
Yeah.
Get it on. the
Just
wall.
share it.
It should be, yeah. Can you see it on your computer?
I'm looking at YouTube and I don't see it.
It's on YouTube. I'm streaming.
There it is.
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know
got
why
it.
it's not working.
Okay, no problem. I can improvise.
All right, sorry.
Okay, I'd like to start with, first of all, this is just concepts. We're just getting started. With that being said, we also have to be on the fast track. So those are kind of conflicts with each other. But if we want to have something in place for the 2000 summer season, we have to move on it. We started after council created a committee. We've only had 2 meetings. At our first meeting, we did introductions. We talked about goals. There's a short-term goal, which would include this summer, next summer, and then a long-term goal. We talked about the Harbor Master Building, because that's part of the big picture. Prior to the first meeting, I did send surveys to all the committee members, surveys that were taken, specifically a recreation survey that was taken in January 2020. And then I went through the city master plan surveys, and I pulled out ones that had to do with Marina Park. That was done prior to our first meeting. So our first meeting, we went through those surveys. Then we had a 3-week break. A lot of that had to do with everybody being gone on spring break. But during those 3 weeks, we all had homework. And that was each committee member was asked to come up with some ideas, concepts, thoughts about what they would like to see at Marina Park. So our second meeting was basically any member who wished to could give their opinion. Some people had some stuff we had up on the screens, and we talked about it and discussed it. Before that meeting, Dana and I had gotten together at the park and came up with a preliminary sketch. And that sketch was just a baseline. This is what we have to work with. Then we started adding things to it based from our other committee member meetings. And so with that being said, that got us to this point. And Dana put this together. Appreciate that. So next slide. Out of the surveys, we looked, and surveys can go all over the place. You know, they're here and there. We try to find common themes. And these are the most ones that were mentioned from the surveys. People love the views. This is probably not new to anybody here, but it should be noted that this also created the base of how we were going to add stuff to Marina Park. People love the views. They want outdoor dining at the waterfront. We need an attractive, pleasant outdoor space to hang out, relax, walk, mentioned many times. Seating has kind of come up in all the park surveys that we need more seating. So, and we also have a difference between some people want the sun and some want the shade. And I think we would be amiss if we didn't do a little bit of both. Music in the park, events, high priority. And doing events for the city right now, I can tell you, our weekends are filling up with music, and that's great. COVID. People want fun things to do for kids, games, family-oriented stuff. Marina Park should be the jewel of Harbor Springs, and I think that's the key of it. It's right in the middle of our town. We want that to be the main focus. So, opportunities. Okay, we focused on the small picture right now, which would be what can we do for 2021, 2023 that will enhance the user's experience. We'd make improvements in appearance and add some functionality, provide more usable outdoor space for residents to enjoy and recreate safely. And also, this is a really good point that Dana came up with. It's also a test. Some of that things we have, we're not asking for a lot, but it might be something like this was a good idea, but it didn't work. Or this was a good idea and we might want to do something else. Site conditions. Okay, it's fairly flat. Poor lawn conditions. I think every survey and every member on our committee, which we have almost the committee here, has mentioned the grass. There needs to be improvements to the grass. And we're not exactly experts here. So what we did is we've incorporated a couple experts in our community to come out and give us their idea of what can we do to help the grass. And if we do nothing at Marina Park, we would still suggest that we go forward with trying to green up and have a thicker lawn out there. No shade except in the parking lot by the Pier Restaurant. Several large transformer boxes and speaker. Some of the utilities in the park are kind of just right out there in the open. Good use of hedges. Anyway, so part of our plan was like, maybe we should just naturally try and fence those off, or not fence off, but actually, screen them. Thank you. And existing light posts along the sidewalks by the docks, which is a good thing. Challenges. Okay. Probably like I mentioned, there's a need to get the plan going right away. Flexibility, keep the space flexible for tents and for the future harbor master building. So we took that in mind when we came up with this plan. Is in the future, 5 to 10 years from now, there's possibility that building would be right there in the middle of the green space. So we didn't want to put a lot of stuff there that would be in the way of that transition, but yep, we had to do something. Finding funding, find funding source for implementation. We try to keep the cost down, obviously, but it would be, and it's going to be an investment. It's an investment in our community. And there's different funding sources. Donations has some opportunity. Once we come up with a final plan and we put it out there, there may be some opportunities for donations, grants, and also would probably be a combination, and I could be wrong on that, but general fund money and waterfront money. So we have to find a funding source. Site constraints. We talked about the lawn and the unsightly utility boxes, and then the goose problem that we have all over northern Michigan. Okay, so with all that being said, these are some of the elements that we have. The next slide will be the plan, which is probably the most important part, but this kind of outlines some of those amenities. Improve the lawn, add ornamental grasses to screen the parking lot and the transformers, add flower beds, butterfly gardens along the sidewalk by the docks, add hanging flower baskets to the lampposts, add evergreen shrubs to divine the performance stage area, create a game court area in the lawn like cornhole and bocce ball. We need some more thoughts on that, about something that would also be kids of all ages would be interested in. So these are just some adult ones, but we're looking for ideas of stuff that we can do to keep the kids interested. Add 10 picnic tables for outdoor dining. Add 7 umbrellas to the existing tables. Reinstall the shade sails with secure footings. Okay, we have an asterisk there. The sails failed last year, and that had a lot to do with the footings and the high water. The area that was selected is noticeably 2 foot lower than what was the tennis courts. When we were going to put the sails in, we were going to put the footings in 4 foot by 4 foot deep, 10 foot wide cylinders. At 30 inches, we hit water. So we had to pump water out of the holes, and of course it was coming right back in. So we only went 32 inches into the ground, and that was not enough to stop the sail post from leaning in. So we didn't end up with the tautness that we had wanted. And you could just see the water, it's so saturated there, the water was just, there was no stability for the shades. So if we were to put the shades back in, I think we would need to incorporate some help from Benchmark to say, hey, look, what can we do to make this happen? So obviously, if we were to put the sails back, I think that would be a prerequisite. Add 10 benches along the walks by the docks and the long court area. Add 2 barbecue grills. Add harbor eats area with 10-foot canopies or food truck. And that is going to need a lot more discussion. And that's where the asterisk is there. add a bike rack on the harbor master side of the park, and paint the existing light posts. So that's what we came up with. So the next step was to put it into a drawing here. And oh, wait, there it is. Well, okay, that's not gonna work.
Was there?
Yeah, it was. Okay, well, let's start right at the top, the lakefront. So here's the bay up here. You can see, there's the bay. And along the bay, there are those circles there. Those are light posts. That are existing light posts. They need to be painted, but we would have hanging flowers there. Along the lakefront, we're adding benches. 6 benches looking out towards the bay for people to enjoy the view.
Danny, if I might add something here, we were also trying to think a little bit towards long-term plans. Like one thing we identified, that's a very narrow sidewalk there. That long-term, we might like to widen that out. Safer for kids to walk along there, and there's just more room in general. And then, so we would maybe set the benches back so that we don't have to move them, you know, in
Later.
2 years or whenever we do the project.
So depicted there are some of the benches. There's 6 of them there. And on the corners there, we have some, right by the benches, we have some flower beds.
These would be reminiscent of the garden club beds in the park area to the east of the Harbor Master Building. That's one thing that people have said again and again, is they just love those gardens.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I think that was mentioned at our committee meeting, is to try and keep that same theme going so it looks consistent. So we have flower beds there. Over there where the sails were, you can see we've got 5 tables there underneath the sails. So you have shaded seating there, and then there's also 2 tables in the sun. And as you slide down, we got Bonnie's gazebo.
Thank you.
Still there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Right there, those parking spots there, which are very good parking spots anyways, having parked there quite a bit. We had an idea based on input we got that people would love to have some eating opportunities at the park. I think we brainstormed some ideas, and we thought that maybe some of our local restaurants might want to be able to have a tent there where they could be able to sell food and what have you to people visiting the park. There could be a canopy there. That might be an option. I know when I was at the state park, when I was there, we reopened our concession, and we did a brown bag. You could purchase a brown bag, which is like a brown bag lunch, and then inside it had a sandwich, some chips, and some applesauce or something. So it was something that was pretty simple. That not just an idea, because how much cooking do you want to do there? That kind of stuff. That this particular part is going to need some venting and input from everybody. But anyways, that was an idea. Like maybe we put up some tents there for our local restaurants to sell food. We also talked about.
It could be really fun too, like Mayor Figuera flips burgers on Friday nights. Turkey sells pizza by the slice on Saturdays. And if the restaurants end up being too busy, then there's the option of food trucks as well.
Food carts are also another idea. There was at one time a hot dog food cart. So that's another idea, something maybe is not as obstructive. And also we threw out the idea of food trucks. I know that there's some history of food trucks in Harbor and where to put them and that kind of stuff. I think if we did do food trucks, and we talked about this, that we would only do it for the month of July, because we wouldn't want it to interfere with some of our restaurants in the area, but maybe in July when they're at capacity and it's not going to take away from their business, it may offer an alternative to people who can't find a seat or and are hungry, and also it could draw more people to our community. So we call it Harbor Eats, and it needs obviously some more venting, but think about it. As you go down by the parking lot, what we did is we added some beds of ornamental grass, and they'll be about 4 foot high. And the purpose of that was to create a screening from the parking lot, and also bring it kind of helps define the park of what it is or what it could be. And we left some openings, obviously, for the traffic there. And we added some benches there for several reasons. One is that parents could sit down and watch their kids play. It also adds more seating to some of the events that we hold at the park. Right there in the corner, we've also, that's where we have some more ornamental grass right here to hide some of the utilities that are there. Okay, game box. So this is our game area right here, and in this area. And this is a game. Okay, what are we going to do with the games at the end of the day? You know, there's several options. One is that we're going to create some game boxes where the employee would then, at the end of the day, pick up all the game boxes and put them in these boxes. Those boxes would also serve as seats. So we put cushions on them. So now you've added more seating. But that was one plan. There's another plan that we have a trailer. We have a Parks and Rec trailer parked at the DPW. Maybe at the end of the day, we put all the games in the trailer, park it over by the marina. Next day, we pull them back out. Another suggestion. And then as we slide up towards the performance area, we're suggesting putting some grass around those ugly transformers. And we're trying to create something there at the stage, as you can see. We talked about maybe putting sails there, but there's a lot of utilities there. We really didn't want to get into that. So we talked about maybe putting a deck there, but we're like, maybe that's a next year thing. Probably the best thing to do is just define it with some plantings there. So, and it also gives it a feeling that this would be our performance area right here. So you'd have lots of seating. You have people that bring their own chairs. I think that helps define it. And then the big bushes there that are there, we would add 2 more grills right here. Now, where to put the grills? If we don't, let's say we don't do anything with Harbor Eats, then maybe the grills go here. Maybe they go there where people can grill and sit under the shade and eat their picnic. I don't know about putting them out in the open. They can be kind of an eyesore, but so what we thought is we put them back there for right now. So that adds to some of the cooking availability there. Now, with all that being said, it really lends itself to flexibility. We have no permanent structure. So if we have an event and we have to put a tent right here, boom, we just move the tables. It creates a sense of a destination, of something to do could be determined a pretty minimal cost. It also ties in well in 5 to 20 years when we move the Harbor Master building over and we didn't build anything that we have to tear down. We didn't build anything we had to tear down. Yeah. So in the center, we would have tables, and they're not going to be any of the brown tables. The old brown tables, we're talking about purchasing 10 more tables that look just like the tables that are there, so we have some consistency. We can then redeploy those other tables to other parks where we're lacking tables. So if we had to use the old ones, we can, but it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense if we want it all to look the same. So there would be, in that main area, there would be some tables. These tables right here would be umbrella tables, and then those would be the sunny tables. So there's options for people. I'm going to, before we take any, let's go to the next screen. Costs. Okay, costs are hard to come by. I plan on coming up, and I'm getting closer each day, but obviously some of the aspects are driven by our decision of what do we want to do. We're probably right now, we're probably looking between $30,000 and $40,000. A lot of that is the equipment that we're buying, the tables, the benches, the umbrellas, equipment that we can reuse when we decide what the long-term plan is for Marina Park, that we're not going to lose that. So it's a good investment. And I also think it's very important for us to be wise and say that this is going to have some annual cost tied to it. So I hope to be able to get farther on the cost to help council see the big picture. What we don't have here, and probably a common question, is so we put in these flowers, we put these games in, There's gonna be more garbage. Who's gonna take care of it, right? So at the city hall level, we've had those discussions. We would be not responsible to say, we're gonna put all this in here and how we're gonna take care of it. And it's also not something that we really wanna add work to the DPW, because they have a lot of work to do. Will it add some work? Yes, they're gonna have to weed whip around the benches. They're gonna have to move the tables with the umbrellas when they mow. It's gonna be a pain in the neck, but I think it's something that's worth it. So we talked about what makes the most sense. Well, a couple options are to have the dock hands at the marina be involved in the uptake of the park or the upkeep of the park. They're there. One option would be to add more hours. Another option would be to add another employee. If we add another employee for the summer at $14 an hour, it would be about $5,000. And when that employee would water and weed the plants, take care of the games, put them out in the morning, other staff can put them away at night, do cleaning of the tables, disinfecting the tables, putting down the sails and the shade, the umbrellas, and putting them down and taking them back up. So that's how we thought. And I think, Victor, you've had some talks with the harbor master.
Yep, I talked to Mike Johnston and he said, most of that stuff his crew could take on, but it probably require extra hours and maybe an extra part-time person, depending on, especially July. July is the real busy month for the boaters.
So I think I'll, at the council meeting, I'll try and have a better cost estimate, and also will include the discussion we're having right now about who's gonna take care of it.
Penny, could we go back to the plan just for
Sure.
one other thing I wanted to point out? Bonnie's on the committee too. And one thing that we talked about in the meetings, is Denny was saying that part of his job is to come up with programming for seniors in the community. And, you know, for other programs as well. So I think there's a lot of opportunities, you know, to have like a bingo morning down there, or cornhole tournaments for, you know, people on a Thursday night to get people down there. So I think that what we're adding to the park will lend itself well to chamber, you know, programming as well as Parks and Rec programming.
And it does have value for the people boaters staying in the marina. It's not meant to be, this is us and this is you. It kind of brings it all together. Before we get to the timeline, which is also very interesting, does anybody have specific questions related to the plan? Yes, ma'am.
No, I'm just wondering the thoughts about, one, parking spot is a parking spot, so how can it be bad? But where you put the tents for the food, and that just seems like right next door to the pier, for one thing, at their doorstep. But did you look at other areas? I mean, even just flipping it to the other side, so a tent right there doesn't make sense to me. And I know electrical has to be important. Is there access on the other side of the parking lot that could be helpful?
Yeah. Oh, on that, I don't know if there is on the other side, the
east side?
marina side.
There's electrical over there, because that's part of why the musicians.
Right.
stuff over there. So I know there's
We have our
electrical.
EV charging station there too.
Just thought that. I get it.
No,
To me,
that's,
that seems, that's the one thing, everything else looks fabulous, kudos to you for doing this. That's the one thing that just seems a little bit awkward to me.
okay.
Can we just give you a little glimpse into the future too? Is, again, we don't know what's gonna happen, but just if we're imagining, let's say there is an option to move the bathrooms out of the harbor master building to make room for a laundry. That area might be an ideal place for a building that could house a chamber kiosk. It could house bathrooms. That corner could become hardscape, where you've got tables and, you know, things like that. So that's another reason why it kind of makes sense to us.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And it actually could go, you know, it could even go here on the grass, so the tents are not, you know, on the cement. I will say that these parking spots are pretty narrow and hard to get in and out of, especially if one person doesn't park right, you've lost a site, parking spot. Anyways, that's a good point.
The plan would also be to make sure that we communicate with our local restaurants.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And, you
Just
know,
about doing an injunction. No,
and
totally get
making
that.
sure that they are, we will not be hurting them.
Right.
That is not the intention. It's to either supplement them, provide them right of first refusal, or, or if it's this is something that won't fly for local restaurants. But I think the month of July is when they can't feed the people they've got.
Oh, yeah, oh, no, I don't question it at all having them, I think it's a great idea, and you created a great space for, I'm just wondering about that specific
Yeah.
location, so,
Well, that's the beauty of the entire space is everything's pretty flexible.
yeah.
I mean, it really is.
And we talked about putting the sales up, which we're gonna need engineering, which is, I'm not gonna have that cost estimate right away. But if council elected not to go with the sales, then those would be just a continuation of tables with umbrellas, which might be a little bit more, bring in the continuity of all together. You know what I mean? That's just a thought. But you had a question?
The lower right-hand corner, those 6 trees, what does it say above them? Right there.
There's a DDA light fixture there.
Okay, thank you. All right. Good job, Denny, thank you.
Well, yeah, thank you. It's a group effort. Timeline, okay.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Okay, so we are hoping to get some kind of feedback from council next Monday. Hopefully we'll go before the parking stuff. Can I make that request? Preview with the DDA, that's with you nice folks. We have a question mark for the Harbor Commission because I'm not sure when they meet this time of
They don't
year.
meet until June usually.
Yeah, so, I mean, we could do it remotely, but there is a member on our committee who's representing the commission. And again, there's nothing there. I think that's going to be it's just going to enhance it. If we're putting up a building and stuff, we definitely want to wait till we have their input. Finalize cost, hope to do that soon. Review zoning ordinances for the plan, determine staffing approach and cost, finalize funding approach. Give final approval for the project on May 3rd.
Ooh. Yep.
Another reason, as you all know, why this has to happen sooner than later is the availability of contractors. I think our first choice would be to try and bid out the landscaping and the flowers. And we would place an order for the tables and stuff and the benches and the umbrellas. We'd have to do that right away. The umbrellas would be an industrial umbrella. They're not going to be one that you buy at Home Depot or Lowe's. It's going to be one that's coming from the same outdoor manufacturer that makes the tables and stuff. So that's in a pretty aggressive plan. Purchase items and hire staff, that's probably going to happen the 4th of May.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And then after it's up and running, then we observe it and see what can we do better next year, or what worked, what didn't, or we can enhance it by adding a dog park or something. That's really what the food tents are for. Is there any other questions? Does anybody hate it?
No.
Mayor, do you hate it?
It's a good start.
All right.
Good start.
All right. Well, thanks to the committee and all the hard work. Thanks, Dana, for putting the PowerPoint together. And we're going to regroup after this meeting. And then Monday, we're going to show it to council. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Kind of like
That's
that.
a lot of work.
Yeah, that's the downside of these new chairs.
That'll be great.
The empty city government went way too fast.
Yeah, did you hear Matt?
What?
This can't be city government, it went way too fast. So thank you.
Because the
for all of
committee
you.
isn't.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, we'll stay tuned for Monday. Are you planning on serving dinner on Monday? Looks like there's a few things on the agenda.
No, but bring a sleeping bag.
Yes.
Okay, let's move into Marges Report.
Okay, so I have spoken with several of the new businesses that are coming to town this season. It looks like for sure we have 5. We have 45 North on Main, Harbor Design, Petoskey Tile, Harbor Boys, and then sort of a yet to be named Harbor Springs Clothing Company T-shirt shop. I've reached out to all of them and just work to see what their timeline is for coming in, if they need anything from the city, or just to be there as a liaison. And they're all very nice, excited to be there. I've also spoken with the gentleman that is purchasing the Mike Pierce Dentist Building, and he is still looking for some sort of tenant. So I guess my only thought on that is put on your thinking caps if you have if some ideas or some thoughts as to what he is looking for, something for the next couple of years to be in there. Which then led me to kind of look at really what we have as far as a new or prospective business packet or materials for anybody that's either coming in or starting thinking about doing a business. And we don't really have one. And so that I've been working with the directors from both Charlevoix and Boyne City to get what, the information that they have. And they've both gotten me some really great materials that they use for welcoming either new businesses or prospective businesses. And I am currently working to put something together for us to hand out, which would include the necessary city applications for licenses and things like that, as well as some really, better information about Harbor Springs and the downtown and just the overall area. So that is that.
You still have something. Has that disappeared? I'll go see if I can scrounge it up,
Yeah,
Okay.
but it would have.
it needs to be updated anyway. I know
Yeah.
Margot will be talking with Jeff about any of the,
Yeah.
zoning stuff that would be included in that business packet as
We
well.
might not want to even look at it. Okay.
Pretend.
We have a new logo anyway, so.
That's right.
Yes, we do. Okay.
And then the only other item that I have is the Kiosk Directory. I've spoken with Kevin Van and.
So as you recall, when we put in the kiosks, that these would be updated yearly. It's a skin that attaches to the front of it replaces the current skin.
So I have a quote and they really do need to be updated this year with as many turnovers that we've had, not just in the downtown, but our directories also extend to the entire city of Harbor Springs, so up to Fairview Plaza and all of that. So we've had a lot of business.
We did last year, that was the first year we did not. That was because of COVID.
We've had a lot of changeover and they need to be done. So the quote that he gave me totals $1,578. And that is that includes everything, the new stickers and then removal and installation. He did say that it looks like we are getting some new signs through the Parks and Rec, and he said we could cut down on the cost of the travel if we were to do that at the same time. So he said that amount could be eliminated from the quote. The other thing that we talked about, and Kathy and I spoke about this, was that if we wanted to get any sponsorships on the backside or any part of those directories.
Now is the time.
This is the time to do it. He said, depending on what we want, if it was just something as small as adding some sticker logos to the larger sticker and including that, it could increase the cost about $15 per sign. But if, it depends on whether we want to go the route of doing a whole new, full size sticker for the backside with lots of logos, or if it was just something we were going to incorporate a couple. But we have some options there, and he's ready to go whenever we get him the new business directories.
So I've been working on the directory and actually made some changes while we're sitting here. Once Margot looks it over, I think we're set for empty spaces filled, maybe a couple of exceptions. Typically, we've aimed to have this to the designer by, May 1st, so that we could turn it around. My graphic designer is the one who does it. The work is already done from previous versions. All she has to do is make updates. So I just give her a list of changes and then she sends the file down to Kevin. So once we get through this, I would say by May 1, I wouldn't want to wait any longer. I don't know why, once you look at it, Margot, you'll see if I missed anything. But I actually did I need to drive up through Fairview. I've gone through every business on the previous version and checked to see if they're still there. I just need to, previously we had to do a drive up there to make sure we didn't miss anybody. That's all that I'm missing. And we're ready to roll. And my designer's, not much money.
Okay.
She just has to go, again, just make changes on the existing file. It's already done. And at some point, when I'm no longer in the DDA, I need to make sure that you guys have access to that file to change for the future.
Is there a new tenant going into where Good Threads was?
Yes, that is 45 North on Main.
Perfect,
Mhm.
thank you.
And that's going to be, he told me, kind of a ship boat retail, using some of their goods and some other goods that they're planning to sell. And I spoke with them, and I spoke with several of the owners, seeing where they were with the chamber. And, if they are not chamber members, we'll do something to welcome them to the downtown. But if they're already chamber members, like some of them are existing members, then I'll let you, do your
I
ribbon
just have to
cutting.
take a look at that, because if it's an additional location, et cetera, but yeah.
Okay.
Because it would be on top of our gallery.
Sorry, Margot, what is 45 North?
So 45 North, it is the same owner, so it's 45 North Management.
It was Justin Bassett's company and sold.
So they're going to continue doing their property management and their boat and, and car detailing services, but they're opening up a retail, small retail location on Main Street.
Oh, gotcha. Thanks.
And just kind of a funny thing, and when I went to go meet with the owner of the t-shirt, the incoming custom t-shirt company, I asked him what the name of his store was going to be, and he told me it was going to be called the Harbor Springs Outfitter.
Yeah, isn't that great?
And I said, I think we need to work that out. And
Oh,
he
thank you.
quickly said, I'm coming up with a new name.
Oh, good. Okay. We've actually received several displays and t-shirt presses because it comes to the outfitter.
Oh,
In the
now you
UPS.
understand why, yes.
Yeah, I'm like, what is going on?
That's kind of scary.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
That's kind of
They haven't
scary.
done the research about what's already in town.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the update from Margot.
Ransom, Josh.
If anyone else wants to peruse the spreadsheet on the kiosks, holler, I'll share it with you. Other business, old business. We're back again in a couple weeks. We needed to pull this meeting together because, as you see, we had a few things that we needed to talk about before council on Monday. And then let's move into public comment. Any other comments from the audiences, both here and online? And if not, I will suggest we adjourn and we will gather back here again on May 6th.
Thank you.
2 days before our planting day,
8:30 again?
8:30.
Okay, thank you.
We're 8:30 roughly.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming.
Yeah.